Let's start them off with number 1. Number 1 is Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. 6'7", 280 pounds, 21 years old, left tackle, but started out actually as a tight end at Notre Dame, and they converted him over to a tackle. Pros, exactly what you'd expect at somebody who comes from the tight end group there. Athletic, fast, great at pulls, creates lanes in the running game at that point. Cons, exactly what you'd expect is somebody that's a little bit later weight-wise than he is, can get pushed back by a first punch, and occasionally bet some bad pass blocking reps. But again, those are nitpicking. Most of those I see occasionally. I mean, like maybe one a game or something like that. Like nothing crazy at that point. You know what I mean? Like this is a guy who's a top 10 pick, and he's a guy that's going to be he's going to be worth a top 10 pick. I do think I still want him to put a little weight on. I haven't seen many people say that part of there. I'd still like to see a little bit. I think he's a little bit light for where he should be at that point. But he's just a special athlete for where he's at that point there. And you know what? I just realized somebody missed up my notes there. It's not 280, 322 pounds. But I still like to see him get a little more poundage at that point there. I like to get him at the if he can get to like that 230 range at that point there, just a little bit more to get to that elite size, because he's got everything else elite. Got elite height, elite speed, elite, so much other stuff there. Just a little bit more in the size, I think, would help him out there.
Just not compromise with his speed.
No, and I don't think that would, because you're not talking that much weight. But this is a guy that you look at him and you go, okay, great tape for years over at Notre Dame, which, Notre Dame plays all over the place. Obviously, they're not part of one of the particular conferences there, but they play some good talent throughout the year. He's a guy who was put in the spotlight because it's one of the bigger football, programs in the nation, and he's excelled, and he's hands down considered the best talent at that position there. So, yeah, if you need a tackle, you're going to take him immediately. I mean, and I could have swore before the Chargers made the moves they made a wide receiver, cut loose their 2 big stars they've had for years. I could have swore that's where he would go. 100% could have swore that's where he's going to go, and sure up that offensive line. Now, I don't know where he goes, to be very frank. You mentioned Tennessee. That might be the spot, because you look at overall. Again, we've talked about it before: quarterback, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. So
yeah, I mean, with the
Tennessee,
Vikings,
Atlanta, Chicago,
I could see maybe I could see the Chargers pulling back. Maybe because what the Vikings did, maybe they switch out spots because they're looking for a quarterback. Maybe, but yeah, Tennessee at number 7. If Joe Alt falls that far back, Tennessee is probably where he goes.
Yeah. I mean, you can see a lot of places. You can see Atlanta as a possibility. You can see Chicago. You can see even the Jets. I mean, the Jets have signed a lot of guys to play tackle, but they're all 1-year deals. So it's a matter of, do you feel okay with maybe sitting a guy for a year behind, a guy like Smith, or do you want to let him fight with Morgan Moses for the right tackle spot? I mean, there's a couple of options you would have if you drafted him in New York. They're always just potentially the best swing tackle in the NFL.
Potentially,
I mean, that's where he could be there.
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.